So welcome everyone to this beautiful live author summit. My name is Kira Polson and I am the CEO, founder of Freedom House Publishing Co. We are a publishing house that publishes books that change the world. And this book tonight is one of those books. This book is so powerful. I'm so excited, so honored to host the summit with all of these authors. So if you are a guest here, I want to just welcome you to this sacred space. Our Freedom House summits, they're very different than anything else out there because we really create the space that this event tonight will give you inspiration, will help you change anything in your life that's not working for you so that this night alone transforms some area of your life. So that's our intention over here at Freedom House, is that everything we do helps transform your life for the good, bringing you more light, more activation. Tonight's going to be fire. I'm so excited. So I want to introduce, we've got Dr. Lori Monaco. I want to bring her up. She's the head author of this brand new book, Her Badass Story, Volume 2. Lori, if you want to unmute, I just want to welcome you here today.
Hi, everyone.
Now, Dr. Lori is the head author, which means that this book was her idea. Then she sent it out into the world and gathered the perfect authors to share their stories. So I want to start tonight with you, Lori. I want you to share a little bit about why this book pulled you into action to find these authors to tell their stories.
I mean, you know, we're always told that there's nothing more powerful than somebody's story. And I think all of us authors could agree the fact that we spent our whole lives hearing other people's stories, sharing our story with other people, maybe not intimate details or certain parts of our story, but you get connections that way. You can become closer to people, you can inspire people, you can get a better understanding of people. And so when I thought about it and I said, you know, I think it's such a great idea to just have a collection of women sharing their stories of what they've gone through and then how they triumphed over it, but then how they also changed their lives as a result of it. And you know, that's when we're in the muck of the bad part, the quote bad part of our story, because there really is no bad part, because when we learn something from it, it transforms us. But when we're in that state though, at that moment, we think it's the worst. We think like there's nothing worse than our situation. There's nothing like more horrible than this. I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. But then when we meet somebody else and then we hear them tell their story, I mean, I know this happened for me for sure. I'm listening to some of these people speaking and I'm going, and now of course I'm comparing and I'm going, so they got out of that. And I'm complaining about my story, like I'm waddling in mine, you know, and not to ever underestimate anybody's story, including my own. But it got me thinking, it's like, you know, we need to celebrate these. We don't hear enough about what people have gone through, especially women. We don't hear enough about it and then know that they came out of it, because I think of all those women out there and, well, people in general, who've been so hopeless and they just gave up because they just didn't think they had it within them and that they couldn't figure it out, because sometimes you can't figure it out on your own, you know. But when you see when you witness other people's stories by reading them or having conversation with them, you realize that, you know what, I can be that person. And then you also know that you're not alone. And so that's why I loved the idea of doing these books, and especially calling it that, because I think it's an honoring title. I think that it really sets the tone for women to say, my God, I really am a badass, you know? And I know Jen Sincero was the one that really coined that with "you are a badass." But when you really think about it, when you honor yourself with what you've done in your life and how you've really transformed, when you really sit and think about it, you say, you know what, I actually really am a badass. So that's why I wanted to do this. And And then to meet the authors, and that's the beauty, is then you get to meet the women coming in who want to be a part of the book. And then you hear what they want to share, and then you get to know them. And like, all I kept thinking was, damn, they're more of a badass than I am, you know? And then, and I was like, okay, we're all badasses. I'm not gonna do that. So but it's incredible. Like, you know, you look at somebody, you just assume, you're like, oh, I know their story. I love being surprised like that. I love meeting somebody and being blown away when something comes out of their mouth and be like, never guessed that about that person, you know? And that's the beauty of the story, and that's the beauty of all these authors here. That's exactly what you get.
I love it. I love it. And I just want to honor you as a head author. The amount of time, the focus that you put into working with each author just went above and beyond anything I've ever witnessed. Amazing work gathering the women for the story and nurturing them while they wrote their story. So I just really want to point that out. And I want to share why I love collaboration books. So at Freedom House, we've done quite a few collaboration books now, and here's why I love them, is that if you all heard Lori's story and you read her book, you would think, oh my gosh, this is so inspiring. But like, maybe Lori's more, you know, gifted or has more strength than me, right? It's very easy for us to compare when it's one story. But a collaboration book gives you so many different witnesses that by the end, you cannot say it's not possible for you. It's just not even there. When you read that many different people telling their stories, it just naturally wakes up hope. And so that's what I think is the beauty of collaboration, especially of this book. So I want to read out loud all of the beautiful authors' names. They're all here on the Zoom with us here. I'm just going to read their names out loud so that they can be witnessed as authors in this book. And I don't know if I'm going to say everyone's name right. I feel like maybe you should say their names. Will you read their names? You know how to say everyone's name.
Yeah, no, right. I will. And I want you to wave really nicely when I call your name.
Perfect.
All right. We're going to go in order as they appear in the book. So, and I want to have like the look on, but I think I have to put my glasses on. So that's okay. It's part of the look too. All right. Margarita de Margarita. There she is. Robin could not be here tonight. She has a very tricky schedule. She's in here. She's with us in spirit. Ms. Sylvia Worsham. Leanne Monaco. Lillian Maldonado. Milagros Medina. Rachel Kaufman. Pamela Burdette. Raven Aranda Newhouse. Gail Marie Hornaday. Miss Debbie Dowling Waba. And then me.
Love it. Huge applause to every author who said yes to the call, because that's really what it is. This call went out, their soul heard it, they said yes, they jumped in, and they really learned how to tell their stories, and they took the time, and a lot of them had so many different things going on, and yet they were able to still bring their message to life. So just celebrating all of you, and I would love to hear from you ladies. So here's what I want to ask. I want to ask, and just for all of our guests who are here, we're going to hear from our authors, but then we're going to set aside time for you guys to either ask questions or share your own badass story. Share what happened for you when you read the book. So know that if you're a guest, you're actually going to be able to have a spot to be a participant. But I want to hear from our authors right now. So I want everyone who is in this book, I want you to just actually drop in your heart. And I'm feeling to not ask you a specific question. So I want you to drop in your heart, and I want you to share. Each one of you will get a turn to share. You can share whatever is loudest for you. Maybe it was, what was it like to become an author? Did you have to face your demons to get your story into the world, as most authors do? What was it like to become a published author? What was it like going through your badass story? Whatever whatever is there in your heart, I want to give everyone just a few minutes to have their voice be heard, to share here. And I'm going to let you guys pop in on your own. So if you're feeling really like it's burning in your heart, just unmute, and I'd love to hear from you.
This is Debbie Dowling-Walba, and for me, this writing about my story, it really just touched the surface of it. But I have to tell you that it really felt therapeutic to write it, to visit areas of my life that I actually hadn't even thought of. I was very, very tired after I finished my chapter, just emotionally tired and drained, but it felt so good after to have gotten that out and to see it printed in a book. It's an honor. It's really an honor. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic to somebody else.
Thank you, Debbie, for sharing. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. What other author wants to pop in? Yes, Sylvia.
I'm Sylvia Worsham, for those that don't know me, and I'm a second-time author. This is my second book. My first book was published last year, actually. About 2 days ago, I celebrated the first year on the market. And so Lori had asked me, like, why do you want to do this book? And it was my own birthday gift for myself. I wanted to be part of a group of badass women. And my story really was a highlight of God's testimony in my life and how he worked through me. And interestingly enough, the ego identity crisis that I described in my chapter is something that I was kind of currently going through just recently. And it kind of popped back up and resurfaced. And I went back to the chapter to remember the lesson I had learned all those years ago, and started to apply it today, which is so interesting because this is why I got stuck halfway through the project. And I remember Kyra like encouraging me, just work, include the thorns of what you went through. I remember it was like a rose poem you shared with me, and all of a sudden everything clicked. But for me, it was so interesting that it came full circle just a couple of days ago. And I was just so grateful that I had written about it and I had worked through it. And now I'm in a different space, completely different space in my life. So I just wanted to share that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I remember when that rose poem came through, and I really want to acknowledge that this is the power of writing. The power of writing is that it gets us out of our cycles, right? Because it's very easy to get, very cyclical in life. And when you write it and you've been through it, just like you used this, it became a quick, fast cut out of the cycle. So just bravo, like that's so huge. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Who else wants to pop in? Yes, Raven. Do you want me to call you Raven or Rhonda? Which one do you want to call?
I'm Raven, Rhonda Newhouse. I'm both, but Raven is good. So I also am very honored to be here. And it's interesting looking at this room here because so many people here contributed to this chapter, to this story. One of the authors here, Pamela, invited me into this, and then I shared it with Rachel, and having that team in this process, and my mother is on this call, and my best friend Amy, who were part of my chapter, was not what I had intended to write about. It ended up becoming a channeled piece through pain, literal physical pain that was not anticipated when I said yes to the chapter. And I almost didn't do it. I almost said, could I be in volume 3? It took every ounce of me to channel it out in brief moments of morphine-filled clarity in horrific pain. And I'm laughing, but it certainly wasn't funny. But to be on this other side of that pain, and there's still health things to work through, but is such a powerful place to be when I remember where I was in writing this. And so I'm just very grateful to be here and to be part of this circle of women.
Well, and I just want to honor you because you got so sick, and it would have been very easy to say, like, I just can't, I gotta I can't focus on this. But like, that's so badass of you that you dug into your soul and you're like, I'm not going to figure this chapter out. I'm going to channel this chapter. And that right there is just so much strength and shows who you really are, that like the commitment to service trumped the illness that had taken over you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just honor you. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's hear from another beautiful author.
Wait, before we get to Rachel, I do want to point out to Raven, that's dedication.
Yes.
Sick to write that chapter. I mean, you can't be any more dedicated than that. So Raven, bless you. You didn't go that far, but you know, we appreciate that. That is very badass.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Rachel, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, I'm Rachel Kaufman. As Raven pointed out, I joined this because of her. I had another offer to do a compilation. It just didn't feel right, a lot of masculine energy. And I go to her for, for intuitive things sometimes. I just could not decide what to do. And she said, oh, I have this offer. And then it was just snowballed from there. And I didn't even know what the topic of the book was. And when I found out, there was maybe like a 10-minute pause where I'm like, what am I going to write about? Because I like writing. And then it just all came downloading. The day that I decided to do it, that night, I couldn't go to sleep. And I just downloaded the first 2 or 3 paragraphs of my story. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm writing about this. And hadn't really put it on paper before, my story. And when I was going through the whole trauma, as my mom says, my mom told me, you didn't put enough trauma in your story. I'm like, it was enough trauma, but because she went through it with me. And I told her, you're a badass too. I was thinking subconsciously during the whole thing, wow, look what I went through and what a badass I am, kind of subconsciously. And I'm just connecting the dots now that putting it on paper is like really coming full circle, that what a badass thing to go through. And I'm mentoring, preemie moms now. And I'm currently mentoring a woman whose son hopefully is going home the next few days, and is going through all that again and being able to be there with her and, support her. I'm hoping that my story will bring more people like that to me so that I can uplift them and help them. I've been wanting to do that for many, many years. So I'm hoping that this, sharing my story will bring that full circle for some people and help them in those specific ways, and however other ways it will help them. So I was just thinking that as Raven was talking, I'm like, wait, I kind of was thinking I was a badass when this happened. My son's 11 now. But oh yeah, I just put that on paper. So
Yeah.
thanks for having me.
Putting it on paper it's like we witness ourselves. We witness it from a different viewpoint, and what a gift for people who are going through exactly what you went through to not feel alone because of what you wrote. And
that's literally what I just told this woman I'm mentoring, because her baby was supposed to go home. He's like 9 pounds already. My son went home, he was less than 5 pounds. Just get him home already for F's sakes, and I said, I'm just so glad I can be here to support you. And I know that when her baby goes home, it's a whole other level of like stress and isolation, because no one knows what you're going through. So just being there for one person is great, but hopefully I know all of our stories are going to, are sending out good love into the world.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. All right. We'd love to hear from another author. Yes, Lillian.
So I have been telling my story for many, many, many years because it's part of my platform, but I had never put it into print. And when I was writing it, it turns out that what I thought was my badass moment really wasn't my badass moment. So I go further into the story, and I have more to share now to uplift other women when I did realize what my badass moment was.
Wow. Wow. It's almost like the writing was like a decoder or something.
Correct. And it just turned out, because it's in print and I'm able to hand it to my children, it has started such a healing journey for the entire family.
I feel that. Oh my gosh. I honor you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Wow. Just so much healing happening just in the author's lives. And that's when you know the book's going to go change the world. When it heals this little group first, I mean, you can feel it just rippling. I would love to hear from another author. Yes, Pamela.
Hello, my name is Pamela Burdett, and I have had spiritual experiences since the age of 9, and mostly I've kept them all to myself. And so the thing that I wrote about in the book, I went to the top of a big park here. I sat at the base of a tree. I asked for inspiration because I have so many things that I could share and I didn't know which one. And it all just came down, and I went back home and I wrote 4 outlines. It just poured through. And so I shared that because I sat at the base of the tree and received, this is the one we want you to share. And so I did. And having said that, if you have read the book, it's a story that I went through that no one in my family knew about. So for 29 years, I never said a word. I never said a thing. And in fact, the things that I wrote about, which of course are all true, I didn't say everything that happened. And so it just felt like it was time for me to start to share the spiritual encounters I've gone through so that other people, through what I share, can see that they are spirit first. And we are spirit here in the physical flesh. You're never alone, ever, ever, ever. And it's truly all about love. And that's why I wrote what I did.
Wow, Pamela. I honor you, and I can feel, did it free you? Is it like so unlocking for you to be able to write that and to share that?
It felt really, really good. And not that I wanted the people in my family to read it and to cry, but each one of them cried because they said, we had no idea what you went through. And I think a flip side of that is that it's time for us, especially as women, to speak, to share our truths and to speak. And I think that's a big part of why it came through when it came through. So.
Oh, Pamela, I honor you. I honor you for sharing, for being who you are. It's all of it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So beautiful. So we've got a few authors left. Who wants to pop on in? Yes, Gail.
Okay, so thank you, my friends who showed up to support me. I'm excited about that. Yeah. I don't know what I want to say, to tell you the truth. I am excited that I'm in this book, that I had the opportunity to share a, I don't know what to call it, this awakening experience that I had that's changed me. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that I got my story out there. Tony, you look like you're having a good time with the doggies. I think I'd like to ask my friends that have shown up if they have a question for me. I can answer better that way.
I like that. That feels good.
Does anybody want to say anything? You don't have to.
Well, while they're thinking, I just want to share, Gail, I know you because we had met a few times before you were in this book. And I had felt this story burning to get out of you. And I could feel like how important it was that the world knew this story. So I just really want to honor you that you did it, Gail.
I know.
Did it. You brought it out, and now it can go and do the work that it wanted to do. So I just honor you, Gail, for bringing it through.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. All right, we've got Dr. Lori. We've got a handful left, so just pop on in, ladies, one at a time.
Hola.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Margarita.
It has Gladiator Guru. Hello, mi gente. Margarita here. I just want to say to all the authors, I cried during reading this book. I want to thank you that we are sharing the pages in the same book together. I'm honored to be sharing stories alongside all of you because they were beautiful. And going through this story, when I was gonna write, I said, what am I gonna write about? And it chose me, and it was writing about my caregiving. I've been a caregiver 10 years. So it was about writing about like true love and forgiveness of self. You know, it's penciling in all of the guilt that I felt after, and the haunting thoughts of many questions. Was I a good wife? Did I tend to him properly? Did my little spitfire get the best of me? Did my soul feeling like my light was dimming because my husband had ALS and I couldn't leave the house, and my gypsy soul just was trapped? And then when he passed away, shortly after, I became my mom's caregiver, which was difficult because from an early age up until I started taking care of her, I held so much resentment. I was like, I can't take care of her. Then I realized that when God orders an assignment on your life, see it through. And that's how that was, as difficult as it was. But what did I learn? It served as my truth, you know, as a way for my transparent spirit to just travel through my enchanted forest, and of miracles and of closure and of true forgiveness. And the other day, I was very sad. It was my mom's birthday. It's her second birthday since she's passed. And I reread the story, and it was like, yes, because in that story, there was forgiveness for myself, for holding on to that childhood thought about all these stuff. I loved my mother. I just didn't like her for all my adult life. And now that, you know, when they're gone, you double think. So this story helped me realize that I did do the best that I was capable of doing, and that I did take care of both of them for 10 consecutive years, 10 years, just right there with love. Because if I didn't do it with love, if I didn't do it shining my light, I would not have done it. And sometimes when we're in the trenches working, we forget about what we bring to the table along to finish this assignment that was placed upon me. So it was a pleasure to serve with all of you in this story. You know, we battled beautifully in this book, and the whatever's to come with this book was my fifth time being an author. So it always feels like the first. So all of you, don't worry, there's more coming, because we all have stories inside. And as Pamela said, you know, when we write these stories, we are being the voice for the women of the world, and we are encouraging them, and we are telling them, pick your big girl panties up, because we're going out there. Whether we have long hair, we have short hair, we're bald, it doesn't matter. We're skinny, we're fat, it doesn't matter. We're showing up in our full glory, in our divine spiritual beings, and we're gonna show the world that we are the superheroines, and we got this. So thank you.
Yes, I feel like we need a standing ovation on this. Yes. Thank you for sharing. That's so beautiful. So beautiful. Who do we have left? Milagros, do you want to pop in?
I just enjoy listen everybody. I love to listen, and for me it's a pleasure to be part of this book, talking about something happened to me, and I thought was the right moment, and I love it, and I hope change somebody's life. That's my goal. That's everything I will say.
It's beautiful, and it will. And it probably already has changed someone's life. Isn't that the magic? That it probably already has. So I'm just so grateful that you said yes and that you were in this book.
Thank you.
Yes, beautiful. Who do we have left? I can't tell because we've got a lot of people on the so just unmute because yes.
Hi, so I'm Leanne Monaco. I'm Dr. Lori's sister, and she will point out I am the older sister. So she has to let everybody know I'm the oldest, older than her, not the oldest, but older. So this is different writing for me because I'm a tech person. So all the co-authoring I've done has been on very technical computer science books. So for me to actually do something that is more heartfelt was different. I actually enjoyed it because I do like writing, and I kept thinking, like, what should I really write about? Because just as Lori indicates, she's attracted all these narcissistic a-holes. Yeah, I mean, she learned that from me because I was the first one to start attracting them. And then she thought that was probably normal. So, which we're both going, yeah, this is so not normal. And we've been, working together on helping each other evolve. And so it was great to actually put this chapter together. So I was happy, and I'm very proud of her for doing this. So, and I'm glad to be a part of these amazing women, and hearing everybody's stories and knowing that, yeah, hey, we have each other's back on this. So let's be our badass selves and get out there and show them how it's done. So
Love it. I'm so happy you're here. And when you're talking, what keeps coming to my mind is, like, you guys were warriors together. You and your sister were warriors. And then your energy came in together in this book and really, like, brought up this army of women.
Yeah, like I said, I'm an Athena, and I'm gonna kick butt, keep going. Like, I'm issuing all the Athena powers to be on everyone. So just go for it, ladies, because there should be nobody in your way. Just tell them to get the hell out and keep going.
I love it. Yes.
And I do need to point out that she did have that little nerdy technical piece.
Yeah, well, can't help that.
Chart. She's the one that put the chart in her chapter. So, and when I first saw that and saw that she put a chart, I said, "Yep, that's my sister. That's perfect."
Yeah, I'm a nerd. What can I say?
And it's a fabulous chart, by the way. She made it herself, which is, like, she came up with the whole concept. That's very cool, actually. It's really cool.
I love that. I love that. People learn really well when they see visual things. So that's really so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
Well,
you.
I just want to add on to what Lori said. I've published many times professionally as well. And I've had a book in me for years, and this was the first opportunity that came to fruition for me to offer some personal writing. So, like Lori or like Leanne, it was a shift of which part of me is writing. And so I can relate to that.
So beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Tony's raising her hand.
Tony, pop on in.
Hey, Gail, I wanted to ask you, what were all you feeling when you were writing chapter 10?
Thank you for the question. Let's see. I think when I was writing it, I was feeling everything that I went through. So in the beginning, when the chapter is about me being in the face of death, and how fearful and horrific the thought that I wasn't going to survive, and how I felt like, not to the degree of when it was happening, but you think about the memories that were going through your mind. And then at that point of surrender during that situation, it was the most beautiful, there's no words for it, but the feeling of unconditional love that I never knew about is undescribable. The expansion of this universe that I felt within me, again, there's no words for that. So and today, it's taken, this happened in 2012, so it's taken this long really for me to be able to be okay with the hard part of that, and be able to just be able to feel the and remember the greatness of it, and then the lessons that came about through that, about what it means to surrender and accept what is and what that does to you. And today now, even as I live now, I have that perception of surrender. And when things get hard, I might get sucked into it a little because of, we're human and we have emotions and all that. But when I catch myself and I accept it, it just takes a big chunk of the suffering away. So, and I feel very, very lucky today that I got to experience what I experienced. I wouldn't wish that to happen to anybody like it happened to me, but I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. I'm floored that I was chosen to have to go through that.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing. And Tony, thank you for asking. What a powerful witness of, like, that is what this book is about. The book is about us seeing the hard and then being so grateful for the hard because it made you who you are. This is why you guys are the badass women that you are. So thank you, Gail. I want to make sure that every author gets one chance to just at least speak, and then we're going to open up and we're going to just do this beautiful forum. So Dr. Lori, why don't you share what it was like? Any part that feels strong in your heart?
I think the irony is that, here we are, we work on ourselves for years, and when you're, especially if you've been investing in transforming yourself for a long time and a certain level, and then somebody comes along that's just starting on their journey and they're looking at you going, oh, I'm never going to be at that level. I'm never going to be, like, they're so far ahead of me. It's going to take me forever to get there. And I think I might have even felt that way about myself on the other side of it, saying, geez, I've really worked on myself. I've come so far along and blah, blah, blah. But the irony is that my chapter was about my falter last year. And so even though I speak on this, diligently, I have been for the last 4 years of speaking on personal growth and all that and coaching on it. It doesn't mean that we are not out, like that we figured it all out and that's it. Like we just keep going up, like we can hit those places where we go backwards or we just stay stagnant. And in my case, I slipped backwards. And luckily for me, I had the awareness before it got too bad, but it was, I caught myself slipping. And I had to come to terms with some things that I just wasn't willing to deal with. Sort of like I grew around all that and I kept, let me deal with this, let me deal with that. And then that one hit me and like kicked me in the ass. And as a result, my chapter played out to where it was basically saying that last year, 2021 was the year of resistance. And 2022 became the year of trusting in the process, having faith. The interesting thing is that it's one thing to say it and say, this is what I'm doing. And I wrote the chapter on this, and this is how I want my life to be. But then when you actually play it out like that, and that's what was interesting in real time, is to say, wow, I'm actually really doing this. So where I am today is very different than where I was last year at this time. Last year at this time, I was just starting to come to the conclusion that I was not in a good space, and I got to do something about this or else it's going to get bad. Whereas this year, at like right now, I'm literally, my whole life is about to change in about 3 weeks because I am making a massive move, and I am doing like something that I had been wanting to do, but just refused, like sat down like this temper tantruming little child on the ground going, no, I'm not going to go, and that's where I was last year, but this year not. And it's so interesting to just watch it unfold. It's like, it's literally like the story that came out of me for the chapter is actually playing out in real time, and even more so since the chapter came out. So I don't think it is ever a coincidence. Not that I don't think, I know it's not a coincidence when this information comes in to us. It's not a coincidence that we experience these things. It's not a coincidence that we go through what we go through, as sucky as it is sometimes, in the midst of it going, why me? Especially when you're in that low place of that pity party where you're like, I can't believe this. Like, what did I do in another life that is making me have to pay today, Well, once you get past that piece of feeling sorry for yourself, and then you say, okay, I can't change what happened. What can I do with the information? Like, what am I gonna do with this information? What did I learn from it? And what am I gonna do differently going forward? Otherwise, I just keep repeating the same pattern. And that was the beauty of it. Like, I really did not know what I was gonna write when everybody else was like, we did those things with you. Everybody's like, oh, I got this information coming in. I write, and people all the authors are emailing me, go, no, I'm almost done with my chapter, or I'm done with my chapter. I'm this and that. And I'm going, so the head author has nothing, like nothing on paper. Like, I have nothing written. And it took me to the point where I actually had to get in contact with Kira. A lot of you don't know this. I had to call Kira, and I said, Kira, it ain't coming. Like, and we actually had to sit and do a session because it just wasn't. And then as soon as we did, that's when it came. But it was like, I was like at the red mark, like when we were supposed to be handing it in, I was the one that was like almost at the end, so everything happens for a reason. That could be the most empowering statement. It could be the most annoying one at the same time. But it's true. It's just how it's not always what we want. That's probably why it can be annoying. But when you say again, like, everything happens for a reason. Why is this happening? What am I supposed to learn from it? And what am I going to do with this information going forward? So for me, it wasn't just about writing the chapter. It was also about who was in the book. This was number 2. It was number 2. I got to have my sister in this book. I had my best friend twice. She was in the first and in this one. And I had the experience of meeting these incredible women. And it wasn't just getting to know their story. My favorite part, I've said this, I've said it, are those personal bios, because that is where I'm reading this going, damn, like every time I would flip to the next person, I go, damn, listen to this, And so I don't know, I feel so very grateful and very honored to know all of you, like to really have had the opportunity to work with you, to speak to you, to hold space with you. And it was just fabulous, like really, really, truly fabulous. It really is true. You were all badasses, and the world needs to see that. Like we need more people to buy these books and share these books, because it's like they'll look at these stories and they'll go, my God, if she could do that, then I can do that. So thank you. Thank you to all of you for really just coming in and picking out such a beautiful cover too, because that was I mean, I would have never picked purple. Purple's never my go-to color. And when we got the cover, I was like, this is such a beautiful color. Like, I love it. So thank you. Thank you across the board.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I want to just, here's what's so interesting is you're saying everything happens for a reason. We had this summit booked for in September and it didn't happen. Things fell apart. Then it was supposed to be last Wednesday. And it was like, we landed on this day. And here, if you'd be willing to share how sacred this day is for you, are you okay sharing?
Yeah, I'll share it really quickly. So
Yeah.
In the first volume, I wrote a story in my chapter in the first volume. And that story is, today is the 7th anniversary of when I actually, my whole life completely turned upside down. And I started my 6-month-long depression with like 3 weeks of it suicidal. It was today that at that time I felt like my life had completely blown up, and within the next like couple of weeks I slipped down and thought, I am never going to survive this. Like it was something that I did not expect, and it was 7 years ago. And the beauty is that it's only a date. Like there's no emotional connection. That's the other interesting thing, was there's no, like, there's a little part of me that kind of wanted to get mad. Like, I'm like, oh, this is the date. I wanted to own that. I wanted to be like, oh, this is the anniversary of this. And then I went, I don't care. And 7 years ago, I wasn't there. Even a year after that, it took almost a year to really turn things. But yeah, so it was 7 years ago today. The dark night of the soul. My dark night was 6 months long, but it was 7 years ago today.
Wow. And I didn't even know that until yesterday when you were on my podcast talking to me. And it was so profound to me that like everything is always working out for us, right? Like we kept trying to get this summit scheduled and then it landed tonight is just so sacred. So I just want to make sure we didn't miss any authors, correct? If I missed you, please raise your hand or like unmute so I can hear you.
You didn't miss me, but can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please, yes.
I just want to honor the significance of this day as well. I find that all of our chapters, and I could speak to mine, but there's constant reciprocity, because living in this life in the present moment fully, with heart, with intuition, with presence, at least for my chapter, which was about pain, there's love, there's pain, there's joy, it's all there. And like right now I can cry because my cat, who's my child, and she's 20 this week, she's in my lap right now. If you see me looking down, that's why. And she's in her final stages of life, of transition, and it's been a week of absolute connection and love and heartbreak all at the same time, and it's a different type of pain. And I just want to honor that she's sitting here with me, like grounding me as she always does in this summit. And I don't know how long she has, hours, days, I don't know, but so just honor that. And then I work with my clients on this. And so it's always a giving and a receiving. She's a badass. My clients are badasses. Every woman here is a badass. My mom is here. My best friend is here. It's just, this is life when we live in the present, in the potency of what is. And so, people who know me know I cry, but I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. But there's so much heartbreak and beauty and love. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that the moment of this divinely as well.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. And it's interesting. I usually have a sun picture right here because the sun is how it's how I heal. It's like my healing thing. And tonight I was told by my guides to put my lava painting. So this is the painting I look at every day to remind myself to be lava, because some people in the world will say that I'm too much, right? Have you all felt that before? Like, oh, you're too much. You're too much. Yes, lots of hands. And this summer I was praying and I was actually like, God, like, why am I too much? Like, why did you make me like this? And I heard, you're lava. And lava is too much, but lava changes the face of the earth. And so I put the lava painting up to remind all of us that we are lava, and being a badass is so too much for a lot of people. But that is how we change the world. And every single one of you here on this call, you are a badass in some way. You have triumphed over trial. You have faced your hell. You have faced your pain, and you have been to the other side. So I want to open up the space right here, right now, for anybody on this call to either ask questions to the authors or to share your story. Like, let us witness you. That is one of the greatest gifts we can do for any human, is to witness someone else's brilliance. So I'm going to open it up. Don't be shy. This is a place, I've created a very safe space here that I would love to invite you guys to share. So because I can't see everyone at the same time, just unmute and just say, I would love to share. Or ask a question, both, one or the other.
Well, I'm Ornette. I just want to share the fact that with Dr. Lori, I travel around Dr. Lori, Debbie, and Leanne's circle. So I've heard their stories, and it has strengthened me in a lot of my own issues, even some I'm still even dealing with. But just being around these ladies and bringing me here and allowing me to be a part of their circle has strengthened me a lot in my own challenges that I've dealt with. So I just want to take the time to thank them, and Margarita too. I'm sorry, I forgot. You know, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you ladies allowing me the space in your environment and learning and growing from you ladies. So thank you, and good luck to all the other authors that I don't know. Hopefully this is the first of getting to know everyone. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing. And I love the color that you're wearing. It's my favorite.
I do. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to pop in? You can ask a question. You can share your badass story. Let's hear.
Well, I'm impressed with all of you. And Raven, my heart goes out to you with your fur baby. As you see, I have a few. And my heart goes out to you. But the rest of you, I'm impressed. I mean, when you have difficulty and you fight back and you come back, it is something that speaks so much of your soul and your character. And I'm just impressed. Thank you for letting me in.
And you know what was really special, Tony, is that you got to be in our morning, like our early prayer session. And that felt really special that you were there. So I'm glad you were here. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I wanted to say, just though I know Gail, and I thought it was so brave, but I have to say that, like Tony, I want to say how brave it is that you all put your stories out there. And I guess that's my question to Gail and to you all. Like, how did you become willing? How did you have that bravery to say, I'm going to put this out here. It's going to be on paper. People can see it. There's no taking it back now. So I found that incredibly brave. So how did you harness that? And I'll start it out with Gail, but I'm open to whoever wants to answer that question, because I see it in each of you, and I thank you.
Such a beautiful question. Gail, I'd love to hear your answer. And then I would love to open that up to anyone else who feels inspired to answer that. That's a really fantastic question.
I think for myself that I'm really not afraid to speak up. I don't know. I get nervous about it, but I tell it like it is, and I'm not scared to say something that maybe someone want to hear or disagrees with. And I feel playful about it, you know? Not that I'm going to go out and hurt somebody, of course not. Matter of fact, that just brought up my little thing about the badass thing. Dr. Lori, and everybody knows that I didn't want to be called a badass. So I'm slowly accepting that. But when I had my experience, one of the things that after years went by, I came to remember about it was God, my God, the universe, told me that now it was my turn to go and speak of what I went through. And there was this nudge, and you know, for the longest time I didn't know what the nudge was, but I started writing and writing and writing and writing probably, well, actually 3 weeks after this happened, and just kept writing for years and years and years. I wanted to put my own book out there, but when this opportunity came, I thought, this is my ticket. I need to do this, and this is really, this is the message I want to send out. And so I did it, and for me it was easy. It was easy. I mean, I feel I just want to tell everybody that what I feel as unconditional love within me, we all have it. We all have it. It's in every one of us. No one's special. And it's amazing when you know that you are much, much, much more than your thoughts and your emotions and your issues and and everything you've been through and the conditionings that were placed on us. We are so much more than that. And really having a deep knowing of that. It's like I wish I had a magic wand, and all I had to do was like move it around a little bit and then tap that person, and boom, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because they got it. I mean, it's not just a talk, but it's a knowing. It's a direct experience. So I just that's my answer. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for sharing, Gail. That's so beautiful. And I would love to I would love to open that up. Does anyone else want to talk about how they had the courage? Because it's scary as hell to tell your story, especially in a book where just like, you know, this thought of like, I can't delete this. Like, you guys can put a video out on YouTube, but you can always go back and delete it. You can put a podcast out, but you can always go back and delete it. But the book, it's like here. And so I want to hear, how did you face the demons that maybe told you not to tell your story? And how did you guys find your courage? Who wants to answer that?
Go ahead, Sylvia, just drop your mic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be polite here, Lori.
I can't.
I actually did want to answer Deanne's question, because I did put out my first book, and that was very scary to do because it was stories from my own life. And it included quite a few people in it that I asked permission to use their names and to use their stories. And it was very therapeutic, but why I felt compelled to put it on paper was, like Gail, I got a second chance at life. My story in her Badass Story Volume 2 is about receiving that second chance and using that second chance to propel me into the life that I was created for, to really identify with my soul identity, as opposed to the identity I had created over time with all the modeling and all the expectations that I had, put myself through. And that courage came from feeling that unconditional love in the ICU, as I wrote it so succinctly in the chapter, and feeling this pull and this responsibility to humanity to share my shortcut to joy, so that anyone that was going through a near-death experience like Gail and I went through would not feel alone, and more importantly, would get to joy faster than I did, because I took a lot of detours, as my chapter talks about, through my ego and my fear steering my choices in life. And I didn't want other people to go through that. I wanted them to find joy faster. And so I shared the blueprint that I used in my own life to get to joy faster. And so in answer to your question, and I think it was a fabulous question, I harnessed it because I felt a responsibility to share it with the world.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. I love that. Oh, I love that. There's something I say all the time is that service trumps fear. Service trumps perfection. Service trumps all the things that would stop us. And the beauty of that is that every single one of you felt that call of service. And so it helped you most likely fight the demons, because the demons will come in and they'll tell you not to tell your story. This is what they always like to tell authors, because I work with authors all day long, all day long. This is who I play with. And every author says almost the exact same thing, which is, who's going to want to read my story? What if this isn't good enough? What if I'm not good enough? Who am I to write? These are the demons that keep us quiet. But as we can see, every single one of you who faced them and then pulled your story out, it healed you. And then it went out and now it's healing others. So the courage that you all had, I just honor it, because I know, I've written a handful of books, and every damn time I face my demons. Every single time. I finished my last book, I don't know, a month ago. Probably my best book I've ever written. Finished it, and guess what I heard for 3 days? This is the dumbest book that was ever written. And I had to hear it for 3 days. And I know about these demons. And I'm like, go away, right? But like every one of you dealt with something like that. And I want to just honor you that you faced it and that you rose in your courage. So I feel like there's one more person who wants to share. Who would love to share how they found their courage? Pamela, I could feel it was you.
Okay, thank you. So how it began for me was in an astral travel in 2012. A lot of people's lives shifted then, and mine shifted really big. And in 2012, I started to leave, and I would go on these travels, and it was magical and mystical and very informational. And one of them I heard, "This is the life you no longer hide." This is it. This is the life you no longer hide. And in 2012, lots of things happened. The first 5 months of 2012, I lost a family member every month. It might have not been like my brother or something, but it was a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin. It just happened and happened and happened. And then in August of 2012, I left my marriage and I took my kids and I moved. All this stuff happened and it didn't stop. And almost 7 years ago today, I didn't say this before, it was actually 7 years and 3 weeks ago, I left the United States. I swiped in and out of my hospital position for the last time. I got a one-way ticket and I moved to the jungle. I didn't know a soul. I didn't have a job. I had a house for a week. And for the better part of 5 years, I didn't return. I cut everything. I quit my job, 401k investment, pension investment, gone. I just left it all. And so much more happened, and that'll be in the second book, y'all.
Wow.
And this is where, as someone said, this is where it's going to get a little crunchy, because I'm going to have to call a handful of people and ask if they can be in this book, because it's not just, it's about me, and it's not about me, but everything that I speak to, everything that I write, everything that I say. Now I'm going to start to cry. My intention is that there is a universal message, and that I step to the side and let it come through for all. That's my answer.
That's a holy hell yes right there, Pamela. And I really want to just highlight everyone who's watching here live or the replay. You can feel the fire in Pamela, and the fire is what gives you courage. The fire is where, like, it's a non-negotiable. Like, this shit happens, right? Like, that's that place, that's the courage. So I just like, oh, you just brought that in so tangibly. So thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing that. So I'd love to open up for another question from another guest. If you guys have a question, or I would love to hear some badass stories. Like let's slumber party this, right? Like, come on, let's get some stories rolling in here. Cause I think that like being able to share your story in a space where there is listening for it, because we've all shared, I guarantee every one of us has shared something special into somebody who couldn't hear. Have you guys experienced that? Where you shared something sacred and special into someone who didn't have a listening for it, and it gets kind of like ricocheted off their bodies, and you're like, oh, that didn't feel so right. But then when you share into listening, Casey Baker, one of my very first mentors, she names it fertile listening. People who have fertile ground for what you have to say is where dreams and miracles are sprouted. So I'm going to open this up for any one of our guests to share a badass story or share something that's on your heart. This would be the place for you to share. I know it's a big ask, but I'd love to see. Anyone? Okay, we'll know that it's here and the offer is here. Is there anyone who has a question that they want to ask to one of the authors, or does any of the authors have something burning in your heart that you would like to share?
I'm going to ask Margarita. She has this a saying that she knows it's one of my favorite sayings. I'm going to ask her to say it because it speaks volumes to about the book itself, but life in general. What's the expression, my friend? It's the one about life and death. You know, that's my favorite expression.
Oh, it's by Kenneth Ayers. It's a quote where it says, and life asks death, why do people love me but hate you? And death responded, because you are a beautiful lie and I am the painful truth. And I love to share that because not to take it literal as living and dying, but in the choices we make, like we're so afraid to try something that we live a facade of a life so that not to offend anybody, not to step outside the box, not to say anything that might not sit well with people. And when you do, then that's where you find your true tribe. Not only are you fully discovering by inquiring within who you are and walking in your truth, then you discover who are the ones that mind for yourself to walk in your truth. And those that mind don't matter, right? It's the ones that they're like, hey, you're here. I've been waiting for you. And that's what we got to tell ourselves in the mirror. Are you living or are you slowly dying? Because if you want to fit the mold for everybody, then you're really not living. So I say, laugh out loud, you know, speak your truth, walk in your truth, and whoever falls off, falls off. They weren't fastened on tight for a reason. That's it. I love to share that. If we share it on the show and everything, I share it when I speak to people because, you know, death is a scary lie, but that is the balance of life, isn't it? So when we are stepping out on faith and we're taking that leap of faith and we're saying, I'm going to do this against all odds, and you do it and you don't fall on your face, do you celebrate yourself? Now that's a question I ask. Do we celebrate ourselves when we do take that leap of faith and we don't fall as we assumed? Or do we just keep going? Or do we take that pause to say, and look in the mirror and say, are you happy now? Mm. Do we ask ourselves that question? Do we ask our friends and family or people we come across? Hi, I'm Margie. Hi, I'm gonna use you, Lil. Hi, I'm Lillian. And what do you do? I do this. And where you're from? I'm from here. That's the questions I got asked while I was walking the Camino Santiago. And until at the halfway point, when they're like, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. And I say, hi, I'm Margarita. And their next question is, where are you from? And where are you from? Then right when they're like, what do you do? Because I'm a traveling magician. I do so much, I make myself dizzy. So I'm like, are you happy? And they're like, one person really just like didn't even know how to answer me. Like they didn't say nothing. Because they get scared with that. Because am I? Who am I? I don't know who the fuck I am. I don't know who all this is. So that is a question that we ask. And that is the difference with life being a beautiful lie and death being the painful truth, because sometimes we have to kill off our old self that lived in fear and in the shadows of someone else just to be accepted, and rip ourselves out of that world and become who we were born to be.
That's so good. I like get all fired up when you talk.
I want to echo that, because I think everybody here, like, we walk our truths, we walk our path, walk our talk. I always say to my clients, there's nothing I offer that I don't do myself. Nothing. Like, and like the spiral behind me on the wall, my practice is spiral healing, because it's never static. It's walking, and we then see something differently or in a new way, or we come back around to it on all levels. And so, for me, it's the shifts in life, or like what the previous question was about how to put ourselves out there. Like Pamela, I shifted from disability rights, legal policy work to my healing practice, which was over the same 20 plus years, but on the side, to have a balanced life. And people thought I was crazy, but like walking my talk, walking what I put out in the world, and I know that everybody here and everyone listening, I know my clients, my friends, we all do that. And like Margarita said, the people with love, the people who this has been a hard lesson for me, the people who don't stay in my life, there's a grieving with that. It's a part of my learning, but to be like, okay, love you, thank you. And okay, who's in the present, what's right here, who's remaining to walk this path. And that's been such a huge lesson in teaching and challenge and growth. But it's all about, for me, the spirals. It's all, because it's not a line. It's a constant regrowth and learn and all of it. So, yeah.
So good. Thank you for sharing. So I want to kind of, we're going to round this up tonight. I always like for every guest of a summit to walk away with one tool, something that they can start implementing right away. And we talked so much. We talked about courage. We talked about faith. We talked about sharing and speaking your voices. I would love to ask any of the authors, if you want to drop in your heart and just think or feel, sorry, don't think, please feel. Let's feel this. Let's receive this. If there's one piece of inspiration or a tool that has helped you that you would love to share here, so that those who have come and participate with us, their lives actually change past this. Like, how did they become badasses in their life? So I would love to just open that up. Who would love to share? What do you have in your heart? Just unmute.
Thanks, Kira. I was just thinking to one thing that I touch on in my chapter is trusting your intuition. I've consciously been working to strengthen it over the years, literally doing play groups called six sensory, play group, where we work on our intuition. And in my line of work, it's literally what I do. And it basically saved my son from dying in my body, because he was dying and I didn't feel him kicking, and I was like, this is not right. And so from little things to, I should go down this street instead of this street, to like big things. Just trust your vibes, trust your intuition. And if you have a thought that is fearful, it's usually not your intuition, it's more your fear and your demons. The intuition should come in kind of calm and like uplifting and not fearful.
Oh, that's such a powerful tool to teach, Rachel. Thank you. I think that if everyone were to hold on to that and just notice exactly what you're saying, is this fear-based or is this coming in with peace? They can decipher so clearly on which path. Wow.
Yeah, that I'm getting chills now.
Yeah, it's huge.
That helped me. I learned that a long time ago, and it really has helped me. So I hope that I can pass it on to everyone.
Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share? a tool, a thought, something that you know is going to help each person here walk away with a new nugget or a reminder. Sometimes we just need reminder nuggets, right?
I'll share one. Use change as an opportunity to shift your lens, because it really is an opportunity to look at your life, reflect on your life and say, well, how did I get here? And what can I do differently? And I'll say what Rachel said, because a lot of what I talk about is to turn inward for your answers, because the answers we're looking for are not outside of us. And that's something that all of us as authors, as we journey through our stories, you saw the common thread of our answers are within us. And when you turn inward, you will find what you're looking for. But change sometimes is so scary for people, and they want to stay stuck in their patterns of behavior. And just realize that patterns of behavior are your fear speaking very, very loudly in action form. And that's what's keeping you stuck. So use the change, reflect, and turn inward. Always turn inward for your answers and for your joy and happiness, because that's where you'll find it.
Good. So good. All right, I'm going to take one more, and then we're going to do a close.
Just remember, forgiveness takes courage. Forgetting will take a lifetime, and letting go takes wisdom. And the most important takeaway is never lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Nunca te engañes. If you don't lie to yourself, you can accept everything that a person, place, a thing has to offer, and you'll know to continue walking, when to walk away, and to doze through it if you have to.
Oh, yes. You're the queen of one-liners. That's what you are. Just shoot, boom, boom, slicing right through. All right, so I get excited. So when I get excited, I get a little movie here. So here's what it just came through. I want to do this with every single one of you. I'm going to drop you into your body, and then I'm going to invite you to go with me in a visualization where we're going to drop it and have every single one of you feel an area of your life that you would like to wake up the badass inside of you. Maybe there's an area of your life that you've been trying to push aside, hide aside. You've been trying to close your eyes, close your ears. This is a space, so let's bring it up and let's wake up some courage inside of you, so that this night isn't just about the book that you read, but that this night is the night that you wake up the badass inside of you. So I want you all, we're going to just follow along with me, okay? So you don't have to do this, but I'm going to invite you to. So get your hands together. We're going to wake up some fire, okay? So you're going to imagine this divine light from right above the crown of your head. You're going to breathe it in all the way to your lower belly. And breathe it out. And you're going to breathe it in and out. You're going to do one more, breathing it in. And now you're going to take one hand, put it on your heart. One hand's going to go right underneath your rib cage. This is called your friend's solar plexus. Okay, we're going to really bring in the heart and then the action. So we're going to bring in heart and action. I want you to feel the vibrations moving through your body, opening up your heart to receive, opening up any inspiration on action. So we're going to ask that we can receive ideas, inspiration that you can take action on. And then we're just going to call in our spiritual team. So I believe we have angels and guides and leaders, and we're going to call the whole spiritual team in and into the divine light to hold this space with us right here, right now, so that you can all receive a powerful message. And then we're going to ask, we're going to prep our bodies. So we're going to ask that light will touch our ears so we can spiritually hear what needs to be heard. The light will touch our third eyes. We'll have access to all of our spiritual gifts. The light will cleanse our lips, that we speak only what needs to be spoken, and light will clean the heart, that it will be soft so you can receive. You're going to take a nice deep breath in, and then you're going to drop your eyes down into your heart, and you're going to ask, where is one area that you can rise in courage right here, right now? One area where you can rise in your gifts with fire, with passion, with light. Dropping in and seeing if you can hear it. And if you can't hear it, then I'm going to invite you to ask your guides to help you feel the fire inside of you. Remember who you really are. The gifts, the purpose, the light that is you right here, right now. We're going to ask that you can witness yourself, just like these authors have now been able to witness themselves by seeing their story on a page. We're going to ask that you can witness you, that you can witness your own brilliance. Breathing in, breathing out. Now you're going to ask if there's one action that you can take right here, right now, tonight or tomorrow, that's going to move the needle in your life. We're going to ask that you see that action step drop in right here, right now. Just going to let it drop right here, right now. As soon as you hear it, as soon as you see it, as soon as you feel it, I want you to write it down. As soon as we receive, we got to write it down. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to ask all of your spiritual team that they will come and help you accomplish this action, that this action will be done by tomorrow night. So within the next 24 hours, this action happens. And right here, right now, this model of asking, receiving, and taking action will always change your life. This is the thing that will wake up your fire, that will wake up your purpose, that will wake up your gifts. This is how you wake up the badass inside of you. So I want you to just feel this love that's in your heart. I want you to feel how magical you are as a human. And I want you to take a second and just look at all the shit you've been through, okay? Just take a look at it. And then I want you to see how you have overcome it. Like everything that you have faced, you are here right now. Like you could be watching Netflix and you're here. Like that says something about every single one of you, that you have faced the hard and yet you are still here. So I want you to just honor yourself, like really honor yourself for all that you have done, for all that you have walked, for all that you have seen, for who you are. And with that, I'm just going to complete this little practice. I'm going to wrap you from the crown of your head all the way down to the toes of your feet with this golden nectar love. So this golden nectar comes in and it heals the nervous system and it wakes up your gifts and it grounds you deep into the soil of the earth, but also into the soil of who you are, grounding you deep, deep, deep in who you are. All right. So from there, I want to thank each one of you for spending time with us. I want to thank Dr. Lori for being the head author that brought this together. This book wouldn't be here if Dr. Lori had not followed her inspiration to create volume 2. And I want to honor every single one of you authors. It was bold as hell of you to answer the call. You answered that call. It came, it tapped, and many people feel the call and don't answer it. And every single one of you answered it. You showed up in your brilliance. You showed up no matter what was happening in your life, and you wrote your chapter. So I want to honor you for being the badass women that you are, for being the thought leaders that you are, and for being change makers in this world. You have no idea the lives that have already changed because of what you wrote. And I honor you for being that. And with every piece in my heart, I want you guys to know how grateful I am that I got to work with you and that I got to publish this book. I feel so damn lucky I got to publish this book. And I want you to know and feel that from my heart. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, my beautiful friends, we're going to wrap this summit in so much love. I honor you for the path that you walk. My light sees your light. May you have the most beautiful and amazing evening. And may you remember the strength that is inside of you. Thank you, guys. Bye.